Just when we then do start to get in towards constructing the fence, we'll need to make sure that we've got all the equipment with us. It's not much use going out to start a job unless you've checked that you've taken everything with you. The most common piece of equipment is your pliers. Next most common are the wire strainers. Might need a chainsaw to cut strainer posts if you're using timber, or if you're using metal strainer posts, it might be that we've got to have them cut on site in the workshop before we leave. Another thing that we can use if we're using trees as strainer posts is dog spikes, and you drill a hole with the boring machine and bash those in, and then the wires for the tails of the strainer can go onto that and into the tree. But the other equipment that we are obviously going to need is a steel post driver, and this works, just basically fits over the steel post, and it's got a heavy weight on one end, so you can drive the post in with by bashing it. It's quite common now for people to be using compressor driven and electric driven bashes. These are the old manual one. Crowbar and shovel if we're going to have to dig a post hole to put a strainer post in, but again you may well use a piece of equipment like a post hole digger, and obviously that in itself raises hazard. You have to be sure that careful with PTOs and that sort of thing that drive these machines. The type of wire we mentioned earlier, the type of wire using, this is heavy gauge barbed wire. And while this is not a new coil, mostly you will find the labels on the new coils which will tell you what type of wire it is. It'll also tell you the tension it should be strained up at, and it'll tell you how far a coil of wire will go. Normally a coil of barbed wire is 300 metres, which means there's 3 coils to around a kilometre of fence. So if you're doing a 3-strand fence, over a kilometre of distance, that's 3 coils per 1 strand. It's 9 by 3 strands high, so we've got 27 coils. This is a coil of what's known as high tensile barbed wire. It's much lighter, much springier than the heavy gauge stuff, but it does have uses, quite useful wire in areas where there's not that degree of pressure that you might need on internal distances. This is a wire roller, and this bolts down onto the back of the tray of your utility, and basically how you work with these, you just put them over onto the wire roller, tie that onto your strainer post and drive away, and the wire rolls itself out onto the ground. And then you can come along afterwards and strain the wire up and tie it onto your steel pickets. Some of the different types of wire that you use. This is 8 gauge wire, and you can tell the difference in size with the wire. 8 gauge is normally used for strainer tails and that sort of thing where you require a fair bit of strength. It's called 8 gauge because the distance across there is 1/8 of an inch. This is 10 gauge wire, normally used for tie wire and that sort of stuff. And similar to 8 gauge, the distance across there is 1/10 of an inch, and that's why it's called 10 gauge. Last but no means least is the steel pickets themselves, and each bundle of steel pickets has 10 pickets in them, and these pickets are 5'6" pickets, so you can get 6-foot pickets, 5'6". Normally they drive into the ground to about that distance there, which is about 18 inches in the ground, and the holes here determine the wire spaces. So if you're using a conventional 3-wire fence, it'll be 1 there, missed 2, 1 there, missed 2, and 1 there, and then that bit's just left